Accelerator. Think bigger, achieve more. We are the Freedom Collective. My name is Nina Roberts, and today I'm with my marvelous teammates, Jay Cordory, John Power, Polly Lou. Everyone is here. Welcome to our guests. As usual, as we do every day, we are streaming live on social media. You can find us live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. If you are watching us live on any of these platforms, do not hesitate to click the link below in the comments probably, and come and join us inside Zoom. We would love to have you here, and you can also ask your questions in the chat and get live support. We will always keep an eye on the comments as well, so if you prefer to watch us live, that's okay too. You can always ask your questions in the comments, and we will make sure to read your questions and answer them live. So hello and welcome. Let's start. As usual, there will be replays, but in order for you to get the replays, make sure you register using your email. So if you're watching us live and you cannot stay until the end, join us, register to the event using your email, and then you'll get the replay. You will also get the replays for the previous days. And if this is the first time you see us, this is day 4 of a 5-day event. So the event almost comes to an end, which is amazingly fast. I mean, I can't believe it's already day 4. I'm very grateful to everyone who has joined us in the last few days. We learned so much so far about the equation of success. I keep saying that success is an exact science. It can be put in an equation, and so far we have given you 3 variables to this lovely equation that is success. So first variable was to set up a worthy goal. That was day 1. We focused on setting up the right goal, choosing what is the right goal that will work for us today, and then write down that goal on a goal card and write it down in the present tense. Make sure you always believe that your goal is already achieved, is already there, so that you'll have more clarity, more belief, more faith in you to go and get it effortlessly and easily. The second variable was in day 3 was the paradigm. The paradigm, that big thing that holds us back and keeps us where we are. We talked about the comfort zone, we talked about limiting beliefs and how they can actually change, how exactly we can go and change that paradigm and build a new paradigm, build a new self-belief that will actually work for us, that will work with us towards that goal that we set up before. Day 3, yesterday, was one of the most important parts of this equation, and that is the self-image. The self-image, as we saw yesterday, was a part of the paradigm, and it is the opinion that you have of yourself, what you think you can or cannot do, your fears, and everything that will hold you back because you haven't really achieved being that future version of yourself that has the goal. So yesterday, a very important part was about explaining how you cannot achieve the goal unless and until you become that person who can achieve the goal. So think about it backwards. Think of yourself a few years ago. You did not have the skills, the beliefs, the tools, the money, the resources, the strength, the energy, whatever the goal was then, you did not have it. Once you became that person who has what they need about attitude in terms of self-belief, self-image, especially that, and then everything else will come towards that person. So you cannot achieve the goal unless and until you become that person. How do we actually change the self-image? That was actually what we talked about yesterday as well. Again, constant spaced repetition, the same recipe to change a paradigm. Since the self-image is a part of your paradigm, the only way to change it is constant spaced repetition. There are actually 2 ways to change it, but the other way is emotional impact. And emotional impact will come to us through a shock or through a major life event that is usually negative. And it doesn't usually work for us. It usually works the opposite way. Like we would develop a certain fear after a major accident, for example, or something like that. So we don't want to go to that option. We want to change the paradigm, change the self-image in a healthy way and in a consistent way. So that also works with repetition. You repeat a new self-image with affirmations, with being aware of the self-talk that you have about yourself, and also with being aware of what you advertise to people about your self-image. Because people subconsciously pick up that self-image that you're projecting, pick up your insecurities, pick up your lack of confidence or your charisma, pick up whatever you think you whatever idea or whatever opinion you have of yourself. So be self-aware, be very careful about how you speak to yourself, how you project yourself to people, and then take it from there and repeat the description of the person that you want to become. Once you become that person, or once you learn how to be familiar with that future version of yourself, the goal will be very easy to achieve. So that was what we discussed in day 3. In the meantime, let's see if you have any questions regarding the previous days, day 1, day 2, day 3. Let's see if you managed to choose the right goal for you, if you managed to choose what is the number one paradigm that you absolutely need to change. What you think is really holding you back? And yeah, if you have any comments or any questions regarding that, please do not hesitate. I'm having a look at the chat, and I think Jay is having a look at the comments on social media. So maybe in the meantime, we can start the polls for today, keep things going. Yes. All right. So if you're watching us live, you probably cannot see the polls because it's inside Zoom. So I'll read aloud the questions. First question, how much is hesitation, overthinking, or waiting for the right time costing your business or your life or your goal? Think about it. Second question, are you operating from habits that keep you comfortable or habits that push you towards serious growth? Comfy is best, or I'm growing every day. And number 3, if you could remove one fear, limiting belief, or hesitation, what would it be? Okay, let's take a couple of seconds to answer the questions. In the meantime, hello again to people who are watching us on LinkedIn and Facebook this evening. We would love to have you here on Zoom, but if that's not possible, that's okay too. All right, we're receiving some responses so far. So yeah, let me remind you of a few housekeeping rules so far. If you're watching us on social media, come and join us on Zoom. You can click the link in the comments and register. You'll receive a link to the Zoom meeting, and after that, you'll also receive a replay to the previous days. If this is the first day that you're watching us, this is actually day 4 of a 5-day free training for business owners, for entrepreneurs, for people who have set up a health goal, a career goal, if you want to switch careers, if you want to achieve your goal in 2025, you need to listen to this amazing formula that we've been teaching you so far. So let's see what the responses to the polls are if we finished answering the questions. I don't know if we're ready yet, Jay. Okay. That's all right, Colm. Hello and welcome. All right. Well, Who wants to share their responses in the meantime? We're still collecting some answers. All right, Jay, do we have enough answers to close the poll?
50% so far have participated. We
They're
have
not
some
all
answers.
questions, but I understand.
Up to you. I can end it and see what people have written, or we can leave it for
Yeah,
a couple more minutes.
let's end it. And if someone wants to add something in the meantime, maybe you need inspiration. I don't know. Let's see what the few responses are, and then we can also add them in the chat afterwards.
Indeed. So, for question 1, how much is hesitation, overthinking, or waiting for the right time costing your business? We've got all the time, daily, hourly, minutely. True.
Wow.
Overthinking, definitely. Second person says, I feel overthinking is costing me time. Somebody else says everything. And the last response is a lot. We had on question 2, 60% of people believe that comfy is best, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Gotta be growing. Even if it's just one teeny tiny step every day, can't stay in the comfort zone. And the third question, if you could remove one fear, limiting belief, or hesitation, what would it be? Answers include a fear of failure,
Mm-hmm.
upsetting others, another fear of failure. I would like to remove the fear of being criticized and just follow my beliefs. Another person says that I'm not good enough. Somebody else also says I'm not good enough. And then someone else has put, there's quite a few repeats of fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of failure, upsetting others, the list can go on.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah. So for number 2, I guess people were just being honest on their current belief. So that's actually a good
It's
thing.
good.
Because yeah, the majority of people would choose comfort over something new, something foreign, something we've never done before. Like, who wants to get uncomfortable, seriously? And for what? That's the question. So once you start getting uncomfortable and asking yourself, do I actually need to get going to carry on? Ask yourself or remind yourself, why am I doing this? Remind yourself of the what. And the what, that's the goal. And this is why the goal should be on a goal card. That's your daily reminder. And this is why in day 1, we said to look at that goal card over and over and over again every day. Have it in multiple places around you, in your pockets, in your purse, on your desk. Yeah, exactly what, like the one that John has here. And the goal card should be your reminder and should keep you focused on why you're doing what you're doing. We can spend years in a job we don't like, or with someone we don't really feel safe around, or in an environment that we know is toxic and is holding us back, and we cannot really do anything within that environment. But we stay there because we forget to ask the question, why am I doing this? Remind yourself why you're doing this, remind yourself of the what, and then decide if you need to change things, if it's worth getting uncomfortable on a daily basis or not.
Yeah.
So, comfort is good if you're getting the results that you want. Like, we're not telling you to get uncomfortable every day and start looking for challenges just for the
Mhm.
sake of it. That's not what this is about. If you're looking at your life today and the results that you're having, could be really about your career, your income, your health, your relationship. These are mainly the 4 areas that we set goals around. Look at your results. If the results are actually what you want, then good for you. Enjoy every second of that. Enjoy the adventure. If the results could be better, or if you're literally not going anywhere and feeling that you're stuck, then you probably should get a little uncomfortable and push through what we call the terror barrier. And this is what day 4 is about. So, what is the terror barrier? We set up the goal, and then the paradigm starts showing up, starts to convince us that this is going to be uncomfortable, this is not going to work, people are going to judge us, we're going to lose money in that investment or on that business, whatever it is, we're going to lose that job, we cannot ask for promotion because that will create a difficulty with our boss, could be really any message, any excuse that your paradigm is sending you. And then we start pushing through that. We start developing a new self-image, start developing a new habit, start to cut off on scrolling endlessly on social media and all these bad habits and eating cake and whatnot. And then we get really uncomfortable and things are still not going as we want them to go. Like we started the business and then the business is not taking off yet. There's no money in the bank yet. Or we quit that toxic job and then we couldn't find any other job. Or we still are too afraid of our environment. Like, for example, being judged, that's a very big thing. That's a very big reason why people do not do what they want to do. Because what if other people won't like me anymore? What if I'm too successful? You know, sometimes fear of failure is not fear of failure, but rather fear of success. Can you believe that? We're actually afraid of becoming successful overnight or too successful for what we are. Again, the self-image is not who we are yet. Or maybe we're scared of being too successful for the people around us. I know I was. When I was studying, I used to get very good grades, sometimes too good. I'm like, what if I'm like the top of the class and I lose all my friends because I'm not popular anymore because everyone thinks I get grades that are too good and I'll just end up being alone and nobody will like me anymore. So at one point I stopped studying that much and I'm like, okay, like step up. I don't want to be top of the class because I will lose my friends. Can you believe that? And that limiting belief stayed with me over my career until I noticed that I didn't ask for promotions. I did not ask for a good salary because I didn't want to be the best, because fear of success. Not because my self-image was limiting me, because I thought that my environment would not like it. I was scared of disappointing people by being too successful. I was scared of losing friends by becoming too different, by becoming not that person that they're friends with. I don't know if you guys have experienced something similar, like you're scared of being successful. And you can also become scared or apprehensive of being successful because you don't know how to deal with that success. It's not about failure. Failure is easy to deal with. Like, okay, I failed, I know what to do. I'll just start over or give up. That's very obvious. I'll probably be disappointed, frustrated. Okay. But what if I'm too successful and then I become, I don't know, famous and I have too many clients and I have to deal with people that I have to hire and I have to manage teams and I have to go on social media and make content. Oh my God, that's a lot. That's a lot. So think of it. Is it fear of failure or is it fear of success? We said terror barrier today, right? So you set up the goal, the paradigm kicked in, and then there's fear. We push through, we haven't seen the results yet. That's what we call the terror barrier. We're starting from a place of bondage. Bondage is when you're acting as your limiting beliefs are telling you to act. And you're getting the results that are limited by your limiting beliefs. Beyond that terror barrier, there's the goal, and there's the result that you want. There's the life that you seek. The terror barrier is really a step when you have to make a decision, either to step back to bondage, and that's also comfort, and that's also habits and what's usual and what's known and what's safe, or to push through, to trample that terror barrier and to go through the unknown, outside the comfort zone, all the challenges, all the new things, all the new habits that you have to build one by one, and all the leaps of faith that you have to take, because sometimes you're literally jumping into the unknown, especially for people who are starting businesses as well. Yes, Polly, go ahead.
So Nina just summarized really, really well on how we cope with a terror barrier. And terror barrier normally appears when we are facing the unknown, just like Nina said. And I want to share a story about how I go through my terror barrier. And previously, we talked about how powerful our mind is. But I also want to share, when we say that the mind is super powerful, I really mean it. And this guy heard about the stories already, but I want to share it here again. I've once used my mind to control an airplane and stop a typhoon through a terror barrier. So this sounds like, huh? But it actually did happen. And so this happened when last October, and that was after my dad went through surgery for his cancer. And I was still in the UK, and I knew my mom was crumbling by looking after my dad at ICU. So I booked a flight ticket to fly back home on the day. And so just when I was on the coach to go to Heathrow Airport, Mom called me and she said, have you checked on the news? There is a super typhoon coming, the biggest one in 10 years. All the flights are cancelled. What would you do? Would you just say, well, I was still in my town, probably I would just, I'm just going to go home. I'm just going to wait for the news. But I said, no, I'm going. Mom is crumbling. Dad needs help. I'm going. So I said to my mom, I'm not getting up this bus. I'm heading to Heathrow Airport. And that's when I said to so I'm facing the unknown, facing the news that telling me all the flights were cancelled. There's a super typhoon, the biggest one in 10 years. But I said to myself, this is time to work with the universe. Because when we are stepping into the unknown, we have to do our part, but we also ask the universe to co-create the reality that we want. So I said to myself, I stopped praying to the universe. I said to the universe, I know you're testing me. I know you're testing my courage. You're testing my persistence. You're testing my determination. I'm telling you, I'm going. I don't care. I'm going home. So I went on the bus. So I took the bus and I went to Heathrow Airport. I jumped on the first flight. And so I was connecting from the UK to Hong Kong to Taipei. That's where my hometown is. So my flight did manage to land in Hong Kong fine. But then when we got on the second leg, which is from Hong Kong to Taipei, as soon as we land on the plane, the pilot said to us, you have heard about super typhoon coming. We don't know if we could take off. We don't know if we need to return. We just don't know. We just have to wait and see. As far as I know, a lot of flights are cancelled. So what did I do? I stepped into a terror barrier, again, massive. But I said to myself, I've already told you, I'm going home. I am going home. So I start praying. I start manifesting in my head. I said, because I do believe our minds create the reality that we want. Our current state is our past mindset. If we want to create, we have to create from our mind before it manifests to the external world. So I manifest throughout the whole plane. When the plane took off, it shaked, massive turbulence. Everybody was screaming. The flight was literally like this. But I couldn't care less. I pray, I manifest, I say in my head, I want the plane to land at 6 p.m. The plane is landing at 6 p.m. I am heading out. I'm going to the hospital to see my dad. I start image what the hospital look like, what the hall look like. And I start imagining the screen on the plane about how we land at 6 p.m. I didn't care everybody was screaming around me or praying. I just keep having a picture in my head. To a point, I lost space and time. I knew I was living in my future reality. So the plane will start doing this for a good 20 minutes. And 20 minutes later, the pilot said to us, I feel we have dodged the typhoon. We will be going in. We probably will arrive actually early. And I continue praying, and I said to the universe, please stop the typhoon coming. Please let it arrive after I arrive. Let it arrive after I land. And then 20 minutes later, the pilot said, we are aiming to arrive Taipei at 6:02 p.m. And I said, wow, okay. So after we actually landed at the airport, I took the bag. I was still shaking I was still shaking, and I was bursting into tears when he actually landed. And I shouted, thank you very much, everybody. And then I grabbed my bag and I run out of the airport. And then after I get out of the gate and I saw the arrival board. On the arrival board, it's all red. All the planes are delayed and cancelled. My plane was the only one to arrive on time. So I ran to the hospital and to see my mom and my dad. And as soon as I ran I've never been to the hospital before, but after I ran into the hospital hallway, I realized the pictures is exactly how I imagined in my head. So everyone saw me, was very surprised. How did you manage to arrive? The flight got cancelled. I said, no, I create my reality. My flight arrived on time. And as a matter of the fact, the typhoon was delayed by 2 days before entering Taiwan. And then also another matter of fact is when I paid for the flight ticket on the day, I didn't know where the money was coming from, but I couldn't care less. I just said to myself, I am paying this £750 today to go home. The money will come. 2 weeks after I went back home, I have a new interest coming to my bank, exactly £750. So that's just a really quick story to tell you our mind really can help us to achieve extraordinary results, especially during the unknown time, because I now do truly believe when you are meant to achieve something great, God or the universe will give you a series of difficulties first, as of it's to test you if you have all the faith, if you have the quality to take on what you are going to achieve or what you're going to receive. So when you meet difficulties, when you meet challenges, please don't think it is the God or universe trying to stop you. It is to train you. It's to train your faith, to train your capability, to train your determination. Because successful people needs determination, needs persistence, need to have the faith to deal with the unknown. And I think this is the reason why the mindset is so important to any successful people. If you want to get a great result that you want, such as become millionaire, billionaire, you've got to become that person first. And that is to have the right mindset. And that's what we'll be teaching and to our clients one-to-one or in the group setting or through masterclass. So I hope this story can just literally tell you how our mind can achieve like great things. And if I can achieve that, you can achieve that because we are one. We are all coming from the same source of a creator. So we have this incredible power within us. So please utilize it and continue studying your mind every day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Polly. That was, as usual, so inspiring. And I love hearing this story over and over again. And, my takeaway from what you were saying is you'll keep getting the same tests and being through the same challenges until you prove that you've learned the lesson and until you approach the situation differently. So if you're listening to us today, you have a goal and you keep getting the same roadblocks, the same challenges, the same difficulties, whatever you need, there's always some, I don't know, limited resource problem, or you don't have the time, and it's always the same problem kind of repeating itself over the different areas of your life. It's probably because you haven't approached this problem with the right attitude. Attitude is a big part of what we teach. Having the right attitude towards life, towards people around you, towards your business, towards yourself, towards money, if money is one of your goals, is a major game changer. Because with attitude, become with attitude comes the right action or the wrong action. If you have, like I said yesterday, if you have a bad attitude towards learning and you think, oh, I suck at whatever I'm learning, or I'm bad at math, or I can never remember anything. If you keep having this attitude and you keep repeating it even out loud to yourself and to others, how do you think the result is going to be any different? You can keep trying to swim, for example, and think, I can never swim. I'm a bad swimmer. You can keep trying, it's not going to happen because you're basically convincing yourself and repeating the message, incorporating, impressing it on the subconscious mind over and over again. It's not going to happen. I suck at this. I'm bad at this. And then you keep trying. It's going to even become more difficult as you try because you're pushing harder towards a wall that you're building over and over the time. So having the right attitude and also the right perception of what the challenge is and how I can actually flip it to work for me instead of against me, that's a big thing. If you can maybe take away one thing of this 5-day event, take away this. Changing your attitude towards the challenges by changing your perspective and how you look at the challenge, how you look at the roadblock will change everything. You can have a major event that will look like a catastrophe. I lost my job. I lost this amount of money. I got scammed. I don't know. I got out of a relationship. Any major event that can literally seem like a big failure. Either you look at it as a big failure and say, okay, I'm never going to invest again. I lost my money in the stock market. Or I'm never going to leave my next job because I left my job and I was unemployed for a few months and I was getting broke and it's super unsafe. You can literally even either say that or say, okay, how can this situation work for me? Let me take a step back, go back to the rest and digest mode. Remember what we said about fight or flight or rest and digest? Take a few days even and think about every single reason you can come up with why this event or this thing can be positive. You'll be amazed on how many ideas can come to you if you just take a step back, relax, do not react, do not take action, and think of how I can actually make this situation work for me. The examples I was telling you about all happened to me. I lost money in the stock market. I got scammed. I lost 15,000 euros. I got fired from my job. I went through many breakups. Many things happened. And every time I look back, always look back, I discovered this is actually great. I'm very grateful that this happened because without that event, this major, much better thing that I have today wouldn't have had the space in my life to happen. So it's all about attitude and perception. Jay, go ahead.
Exactly that. And I want to show you something that I show with people when I'm speaking in person to people. And I want to show you this. Okay. So from your point of view, because I can see it on the screen, it looks like a 9.
Yeah.
But from where I'm standing, so if this was flat on a table, maybe, from where I'm standing, it looks like a 6. Now we can argue all day long that you think it's a 9 and I think it's a 6. But it's a 9, but it's a 6. I see a 9, you see a 6. But if I turn the page round, you're now seeing a 6 and I'm seeing a 9.
Yeah.
We're both right, but we both think the other person is wrong. Okay? If I turn it sideways, it looks a bit like an I for me, and a bit like an upside down wave for you. But if I turn it that
Greek letter for me, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a Greek letter.
I'm seeing the Greek letter and you're seeing the I.
Uh-huh.
This is why when there's a big accident somewhere, the police will ask for as many eyewitnesses as they can. They don't just want 1 or 2, they want as many as they can. Because I could be standing right next to Polly. Polly could be here, and we'll see the accident in exactly the same way, but we'll both see different things. Because our life history, our experience is different. You can even have identical twins who've literally grown up together, done everything together. They'll still have a different perspective. So in anything that happens in your life, if you think it's bad, that's because you think it's bad.
Think again.
Exactly. Somebody else could see that as really good. Take the example of losing a job. Somebody could think, oh my God, how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to pay the mortgage? How am I going to feed the kids? Oh, we're going on holiday now. How am I going to, oh my God, really, really bad. But somebody else might think, actually, yeah, it's going to give me the kick up the bum. I hated that job anyway. I've been eyeing up this job over here, but they wouldn't take me until I left this one. Now this one's forcing me to leave. It's taking the decision out of my hands almost. But now I'm free to make my own decision. I can go and pursue the job that I want. So it's entirely up to you whether any single thing that happens is good or bad when you decide it's good or bad. Because that thing is just a thing until you decide if it's good or bad.
Indeed.
Always look for a different point of view. If it feels horrible, try and think like somebody else. If it's a money issue, how would a millionaire see that issue?
Yep, exactly. Think as the person you want to become, not as the person you are today. It's easy to get a new perspective if you dissociate yourself from that new perspective, like playing the devil's advocate. You know you're not the devil, but if I were the devil's advocate, how would I think? That dissociation in your mind would create a safe space for the mind to go and switch perspective and look for another way of exploring that event or that thing that happened to you. So do that. Every time you get a challenge, you will get lots of them. If you're setting up a big goal, do that. Always approach the problem with calmness, relax, do not react, always respond. The difference between reacting and responding is when you respond, you take the time to think. It could be a couple of seconds. It could be simulating whatever you're going to say before you're saying it. Or it could be taking a few days before responding to an email or making a huge decision. But it's up to you to take the time and think differently and try to really figure out a way of how can I make this thing work for me? Yes, Polly.
So I also want to just share, just to add on what Jay mentioned about change your perception. And that's one of the things we teach our course about. It's one of the things we teach in the mental toolbox. A key one is to how to change your perception. And I remember vividly about how that really literally helped me in the first instance to pull myself up before I start going back to, say, my dad. So when I knew about my dad having a cancer, the first thought I had, which I'm pretty sure that is shared by a lot of us, is why me? Why does this happen to me? Why not others? Why my dad? Why is it me?
Yeah.
But then I very quickly realized, I quickly changed the question as, why not me? Why not me? God chose me for a reason. Why isn't me having this challenge? I believe we would not be given things that we couldn't cope. This is what I really do truly believe, and that is scientifically proven to be true as well. So if you start thinking about something negative, why me? Start thinking, why not me? Maybe I'm the chosen one. Maybe it is for my growth. Maybe I am now up for more. Maybe this is not the failure. This is actually the success. And this is also this is also a really, really strong statement I was reading every day during my dad's illness. The illness is the parents. The ultimate truth is health. And that is going to be the same with all of us. Maybe you're facing challenges, obstacles, failures in your life, but really do think a different perspective. Failure is the parents. It is the parents. Your ultimate destination is success. Because if you don't go through challenges, if you don't go through obstacles, you will not have the opportunity to stop, reflect, and rethink and reset yourself. Because when you're on the go, when you are rising high, you are on autopilot mode. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know if you have anything that, that we probably need to change it for the better good. So do you think failure is your friend? You will need failure in order to success. And that's why we've been through, that's why we're here. And that's why all of you are here, because we're keen to grow. So do treat failure as your friend. And so that probably can also answer a little questions about procrastination. Because procrastination is essentially fear to failure. Do you take failure as your best friend? Fail fast so that you can succeed fast.
I love this. Fail fast so you can succeed fast. And you know what else? People do not usually share their failures. And this is what's really messing up with our brains, because we look at success stories. We always call them success stories, not failure stories. There is no success without failure. Maybe you get super lucky and everything takes off and the business and the money is flowing from day one. That's great. But you probably have managed to go through challenges before that. You probably started the business or started going after the goal once you had enough skills in you and you believed in this new idea that came not out of nowhere. You're not like 7-year old, you don't know anything about business, and you say, okay, I have an idea, I'll create this new toy, and then you become a child millionaire. That can happen, okay. But this is not how things work. You go to school, you start learning about business, or I'm always taking the business example because it's the most obvious to associate with. But usually success stories do not tell you about the failures or do not tell you about whatever happened before the story even began. So if you're looking at someone on social media, it's so inspiring and they become a millionaire and they learn how to do this business and this thing and they're super great content creators or whatnot. And you think, why can't I do that? I cannot do that. Why are people making it look so easy? It's me, because everyone else is doing that and they all make it look as super easy. That's not the case. If I'm recording a video for my social media pages, I maybe 70% of the time do not post the first video that I record. There are so many bloopers that I don't post. Sometimes I post the bloopers just to like make fun of the process and say, hey, this is how we actually work. Like we tremble, we stutter, we forget words, we repeat over and over again, and then we post the success because this is what we want to share usually. Some people are honest enough and like taking it with humor and with a good sense of transparency to share that, but the majority do not. So always remember this. John, yes, go ahead.
Hi, Nina. Yeah, I was just thinking of something to go back on perspective and attitude. Like, because I love business, I used to watch a lot of business things, and was watching Dragon's Den. I'm not sure, it might be called something else for wherever countries use are on, but basically about businesses. You get in front of these, leaders in business, and you put your proposal towards them. And I was just thinking there when you were saying that I've watched so many things where people they would give their pitch for them to invest in their business. And there's so many times I watched it, and they would get around them, and they would all say, "No, I think it's a great idea, but sorry." And then somebody would say to them, "Can you give me your backstory on whatever it was?" And they weren't even really that much interested in the actual product. And then it would say, so they would tell their story, and you'd usually get one of the dragons there would say, "Do you know what? I don't really know much about the business, but I'm going to invest in you." And they would invest because the person who they were speaking to resonated with them so much. They could resonate with their story and their passion to what they were doing. And because they had a passion for what they were doing, the person would see that in them and they would invest in that. So rather than invest in the product, obviously they were investing in the product, but they were investing in the person because they knew that it wasn't really about the product. That person was going to be successful no matter what. And it just relates back to a story. When I was in England, I was traveling a lot from Sussex to Victoria train station. A lot I was using that route, and used to have to get the 2 a.m. train from Sussex to Victoria to get there for 7, right? And there's these the toilets there. You had to like walk down some steps in there, And usually they're pretty disgusting places you can imagine, right? You know, in these train stations. And so they're smelly and dirty and whatever. But sometimes they had a guy down there who would, you know, be there with a mop doing a bit of cleaning or whatever, then they'd bugger off for a while and then he'd come back. But there's one particular toilet that used to go into, and there was a guy in there, I think he was a small Jamaican man, I think he was anyway. And his name was Fred, right? I really got to know this guy because the minute you walked into the place, for starters, it was lovely and clean. And you got this smell of that, what do you call those little flowers you stick in a basket? Women put them all over the place. Dried flowers, pose something or other.
Oui.
Potpourri.
That's it. Yeah, that stuff, right? So he dishes of that around the sinks. The place was immaculately clean. He had these little towels that he'd bought. He'd put little pot plants in the windows above it. And he had a little radio going. And anybody that walked in, he'd say, "Good morning." And you know, when you finish in the bathroom and you wash your hands, and he had a little, where he had the pot plants, he had little rows of aftershave, and he would say and spray, and he'd say to somebody, "Look, would you like to use, you know, whatever?" And they say, "Oh yeah, cheers, Fred." And he got to know so many people. Oh, I don't know how long he was there, right? But he got to know so many people, and this guy was loving life, and he couldn't have had a crappier job in most people's eyes. He was in a toilet, right, underground, stinky, smelly place that nobody cares about. Place is full of strangers, so everybody's rushing and tearing. He's got no time for nobody. But this guy did. He had time for everybody. He said hello to everybody when they came in. He had a radio going, as I say, and he actually went out of his money. I can't imagine British Rail gave him a lot of aftershave and underarm spray and pot plants. But so this guy had gone out and he had lovely little towels for you to dry your hands in and all this kind of stuff. And I thought to myself, even that time, God, I would love to employ that man because he'd such a fabulous attitude when most people would have thought this is the worst job in the world. And maybe he did think it was the worst job in the world, but he was loving life. And people were tipping him. I mean, he had a bowl there, man, and there was a lot of money in it. So maybe he's smarter than I give him credit for. But like people were giving him tips and he got to know people's name and they were saying good morning. And it just, that always resonated with me. And I'll never forget that about that guy who, as I say, most people would have thought was the worst job in the world. But he was loving life and he obviously thought to himself, I'm going to do my living best. I'm going to give this my all. And he made it absolutely, I don't know how to say it, but a nice experience using the loo, I guess. But brilliant. I've always thought of that guy. And I just know he did fabulous in his life. Wherever I'd love to know what happened to him. I really would. But I would imagine it's got to be good things. Sorry, my chair keeps going down. You know, one of them chairs that you pump up, right? You sit in it. It keeps going down every minute or two. I have to keep moving the laptop. I just keep getting lower and lower. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Yeah, this is a marvelous example of how attitude changes everything. Your perception of what you're doing changes everything. Yeah, Jay, go ahead.
I was just going to add on to that an example that I heard of a survey that was done in an NHS hospital of porters and cleaners. And what they found was, of this survey, it was split equally into 3 groups. So 1/3 of the people that they interviewed, that they asked the questions, absolutely hated their job. They just hated every second of it. They're cleaning up bodily fluids. They're dealing with all that you can imagine in a hospital, similar to a public toilet. They're cleaning up everything. And this is 1/3 of them absolutely hated it. Another 1/3 were, well, it's just a job. So they just got on. And then the other 1/3 had already decided that actually, I really love my job. And they found the things that they loved. They looked for them every day. They liked to interact with the patients. They interacted with the staff. They fetched tea and coffee. They did little extra bits just to make others feel better. And of those 3 groups, when you then ask them about job satisfaction, 1/3 were like, it's the best job in the world. 1/3 were like, it pays the bills. And 1/3 were like, oh my God, if I could do anything else, then I would. It's exactly the same job, but they're seeing it through different perspectives. And it's the same with the guy cleaning the toilet. So I'm sure to most of us, cleaning a toilet is probably quite low down on our want to do list of jobs and things like that. But he was making the best of it. He decided that actually, no, this is my job. I'm going to make it what I want to make it. Yeah. And we can all do that. I try to explain to my daughter sometimes, she's 9, and sometimes she hates school. I'm like, well, find the things in it that you do like, because you have to do it. Homeschooling's not an option. She's 9 years old. She's got another, 7 years in education? And she has to go to school. So you have the choice. You can either hate it every single day and pick holes in it and cause problems and all the rest of it, or focus on the bits that are fun. She doesn't like maths. Okay, well, maths lasts 45 minutes a day. Then you've got 5.5 other hours of doing other stuff. And she went, but maths really is. And that, stop it. Maths is what you think of it in your head.
That's also a great idea of raising awareness. The things that we repeat out loud. I hate math. I suck at this. I hate school. The more you repeat it, the more you're convinced of it, and the more you look at it at this huge, inconvenient, uncomfortable thing that I don't want. But you still have to go there. You still have to go to that job. Either you change it if you have the option. Of course, like Jay's daughter now does not have the option to do it. So better just go with it and accept it and make the best out of it. Your life is what you make of it. We're still talking about the terror barrier here. And I think the difference between people who trample that terror barrier and go beyond the comfort zone and stay there until they reach the goal, and people who step back to safety, is really about perception and attitude. These are your tools. You know that you have free will, and you know that you can decide what goes into your conscious mind. The conscious mind can choose, but the subconscious cannot. The subconscious doesn't even differentiate between what's imagined and what's real, because the more you repeat a lie, if you look at yourself in the mirror every day and you repeat a lie, after a couple of weeks, you start to believe that lie. After a couple of months, there will be only that fact that you won't even remember that it was a lie in the first place. And this is what happens with many civilizations. Somebody starts with a fairy tale, a folk story, and after that it becomes a belief, or it becomes a superstition, or becomes very anchored into that civilization's traditions and beliefs. Yes, Polly.
I know we only have 3 minutes to go, but I just want to quickly raise something very important as well. When we talk about perception, when we talk about awareness, sometimes it's also really important to understand where is this perception coming from. Because actually 99% of the time, our perception was given by somebody else. It was programmed. It was programmed from our childhood, from our authoritative figures, from our teacher, from our friends, and from our colleagues, from our boss. And we believe in their perception because of repetition. Such as, so for instance, if the teacher said to you, you suck in math, over time you start believing, yes, I do suck in math. Yeah. But that's the teacher's opinion, is not yours. And quite frankly, the teachers probably suck in math. And that's why the teachers think everybody suck in math. So essentially, you have a people give you the perception that is not even yours. It's their misperception. And a lot of time we internalize it and we carry it with us. So in our mental box, he also says something. He will also say something. We internalize the script that people give it to us, and then we become the script. So that's also one of the reasons why learning about how the mindset works is so important. Because when I'm going through the journey myself, what I have to realize is when I'm doing this work, I'm essentially detoxing myself. I'm detoxing myself from the false self that was built based on other people's misperception. It's quite mouthy sentence, but I hope you understand what I meant. So I just wanted to say your misperception is not your misperception. Your misperception is a program. It's programmed from people. Time to let it go so that you can truly live in your life.
You know, when we talk about changing habits and changing paradigms, I told you there were two options. The first is emotional impact. Your paradigm will change drastically, maybe, and instantly, but probably not to the best kind of paradigms because it's probably linked to fear or developing some other kind of limiting belief. The second option, and there is the option that works, that's spaced repetition, constant spaced repetition. But you cannot really stay on the line if you're doing it alone. And this is where we actually help people. So what we help all clients with is really staying on that line and helping them develop a repetitive routine to develop this new habit, to change the paradigm, first of all, to identify the right paradigm that needs to be changed, because most people are confused about all these limiting beliefs, and I have this and that, and this habit and that, like, with what can I start? This is where it's important to have a mentor or a coach. We all had coaches or mentors, probably in different fields, and this is why we created this group, the Freedom Collective, because each one of us has a field of expertise. For example, specialized in the self-image and developing new habits and new beliefs. Jay here is our productivity lady. She will tell you everything about how to overcome procrastination and become really a master of your time. Polly will really get you through all this career advice, as well as health manifestation, developing new habits in terms of health and lifestyle, going through career change. This is with Polly. John will give you all these years of expertise in business, developing new ideas, scaling the business, growing your clients list, all these amazing ideas and tips from John. So working with a coach, this is what it's really about. You probably most obviously know exactly what to do, but you can get overwhelmed, you can get confused of what to start with, and probably it's not really easy staying on the line, developing new habit and having all these new concepts to apply at once if you're doing it alone, because you're not alone. You're with your paradigm 24/7. If your coach or your mentor or your accountability partner, this is also very important. If you have a partner, a friend, a colleague, someone you can really work with who will hold you accountable and whom you don't want to disappoint, that's very important, because you will stay on the line. You do not want to disappoint this person. So if you know someone you can really work with, you can share your goals, you can share your ideas, then go and work with that person. Meet once a week and hold yourself and each other accountable. It really works. If you don't, choose a mentor, choose a coach. Working with a coach will really give you this clarity. We're not really telling you what to do. We're really just guiding you through what you really already know what to do. So this is how we work with our clients. We don't want to go into details today. Tomorrow we'll probably tell you more about it, but do not forget that if you stay until Friday, you'll get your 30 minutes one-on-one free coaching session, laser focused to your goals, to your paradigms, to your habits. We will help you set up the right goal. We'll help you formulate that right goal on the goal card, and then we'll help you choose one paradigm on one habit, if that's applicable, of course. Choose one thing that you really think that's holding you back, and give you exactly what to do to change it. So I think, Jay, you will send us by email the link to book a call with one of us or with the four of us, if we're available, of course, and we will really be helpful to guide you through that. And yeah, you have to be on Zoom. So if you're watching us live, this was day 4 of the 5-day success formula. If you want to get your free coaching session, one-on-one for 30 minutes, laser focused to your goal, whatever it is, money, finances, relationships, health, career, let's go, let's do it. So come on Zoom, register using your email, come and join us. And starting from Friday, we're open to schedule these coaching sessions. That will be our gift for you for these 5 amazing days. I think, yeah, this day comes to an end. Sorry for the 4 minutes delay. This was Nina Robert with Polly, John, and Jay. We are the Freedom Collective, and this was day 4 of the 5-day Success Accelerator. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.